What's up, guys? It's your boy Jamaica here, coming at you with another tournament recap for Season 7, Week 2. The Thursday tournament was won by Pixie Wing with his mono green smokestack deck. Pixie Wing is not a stranger to this archetype. Actually, he created it in Season 5. And the basic premise, which actually had most of these cards anyway, was Rafello's. It's a mono green like Rafello's deck that runs smokestack and bunch of other cards that make a ton of permanents. So you almost always have the advantage of smokestack. And so it's a sweet mono green deck, and it only got better with the inclusion of Finhorn Elves, which is now fun in this format. So let's just get right to it. All forest here, because you want to make your Rafellos just the greatest possible play. It's the best turn 2 play you can make. Finhorn Elves, like I said, the best mana dork that's available right now, if you're especially a green deck. Also, an extra Absence Pilgrim, because you really want to ramp into a smokestack. I think it's like really the key for beating a lot of decks. It's like a turn 3 smokestack. I think it's like always what you want to do. Pixie Wing's got a ton of one-ofs here. One of them being Prey Upon. Green doesn't have a ton of ways to really like deal with permanents other than the smokestack. So Prey Upon's a good just like fighting thing. Southern Growth, just the Disenchant in green. It also populates. It's not like completely terrible to populate. There are a couple of token makers here, like Jade Mage. A little 2-1 for 2, kind of sneaks under a lot of things, but also just makes tokens. So you can start making a ton of tokens with the Rafellos here, and they can just get eaten by the smokestack, so it's pretty neat. Nature's Lore, pretty awesome ramp spell for the mono green decks. Gets a forest card, puts it in play untapped, so it's just super rampant growth, basically. Sylvan Ranger, no little one of. It's a permanent, which is what you want, and it gets a forest, which is another what you want. Because you always want a bunch of permanents with smokestack. You want just fodder to stack to them. Leatherback Bailoff, pretty great turn 2 play off of Finhorn Elves. Also helps against the aggro decks. You just make a 4 or 5 roadblock, and that's it. And there's also like a sub beatdown plan in this deck too. You'll kind of see later. Bo Nylea, just an overall just solid card. Does a lot of different things. Killing flyers, putting counters on things, just gaining life, doing all sorts of crazy little nonsense. Famine Tuco, sort of also kind of like another roadblock-esque card. And it gets bigger on its own, and it can just kind of block things that. Well, if it has trample, it's not as good, but it does prevent the things. Those Phantom cards from I forget what set it's in. I think like Invasion or Odyssey, I can't remember, but those things are pretty annoying to deal with. A little fun card. Smokestack, the namesake card of the deck. This card's ridiculous. It's actually a really ridiculous card. If you don't have a way to deal with Smokestack, you're probably going to lose. And Pixie Wing's deck is pretty much built all around this. So it's really good. And it's also really good with Wolf Rider Elemental. When you have a big Rafellos with a bunch of mana, this is the best, probably one of the best things you can do with green mana, is make a bunch of Wolf tokens. Rate of it on its own, just a 4/4 for 4 is good, but every green mana gets you another 2/2. It's a really amazing card in this deck. Arback Stomper, Pixie Wing is a big hater on Mono Red. Big hater, so this is the main deck little answer here. Let's see, what is this? Belling Tangleworm. Belling Tangleworm gives all your green creatures Intimidate. There's not a ton of green decks. Rafellos is one of the kind of like more hyped up cards in this format, but a lot of people play green, so just having Intimidate's really good. So that's super great in the mirror. Overrun, kind of like the plan B of this deck, just killing your opponent. Sometimes Smokestack is not as good and Overrun's just a little better, so just putting a bunch of people, especially when you go like, Wolf Rider into Overrun, that will just win a ton of games. Precursor Golem here makes a bunch of guys, kind of gets around Nature's Ruin. Just a quick note about Precursor Golem. It's actually a bug card. There's actually a game-breaking bug associated with it, which basically says that when you try to target the Precursor Golem and copy other spells to the Golem, that can just start a reset in MTGO. It's really unfortunate. So if you're looking to play this deck, try to replace this card because you won't be able to play in tournaments. I suggest like something like Drain Tournament or anything else that like makes a bunch of guys. I actually like Mitotic Slime a lot. When it dies, it makes 2/2/2s. And when those die, they make 1/1s. Just anything you want that like makes other guys. It's like Thopter Assembly. That makes a ton of guys too. And they're colorless. 5/5 flyer that if you have no other Thopters, you bounce it back, you make 5/1/1s. Awesome fodder for the smokestack as well. Sideboard, Compost against all the black decks. I think black is probably one of the better decks against this deck, especially with the prevalence of Nature's Ruin, which is why the full 4 Thran Lens are in here to make your permanents colorless. But you have to get that down on turn 2. to kind of invalidate those nature's ruins. Sentinel Totem, Graveyard Hate. That's in every sideboard. Plummet for the flyers. The most notable flyers like Vampire Nighthawk, Desecration Beam, things like that. Extra Armor back for the aggro matchups. Extra Overrun for when Smokestack Sign is a little worse. Extra Sunning Growth or just deal more permanents. Good in the mirror too. But this deck it's a powerful deck. When everything's going right, it feels unbeatable. Just like getting a turn 3 Smokestack is pretty nuts, especially when you have Rafellos out. Rafellos, when left unchecked, can do a lot of disgusting and dirty things. So yeah, if you want to check out the lists, this list or any other list from this top 8, just check the description below. There'll be a link. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time.